Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is April the 29th, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Hopefully you humped and didn't get humped. Unless that's what you're into, then by all means, have at it. As for me, I'd say it was a good day. I'd say we were pushing forward. We were pushing P. We got up. I was a little tired, a little sleepy, but overall I slept well. Got myself together. Got myself to work. Work was pretty ho-hum usual. Nothing crazy. Nothing wild. I will say we got ice cream. The cone, she is back. I got my classic chocolate vanilla swirl in a cone in a cup. So that was lovely. That was wonderful. Had my popcorn and my blue Hawaiian monster to wash it all down. Very yummy, yummy. But yeah, that was a big highlight for the workday. We wind up at the gym. We did get on a Smith machine, so we love that. I've been pretty lucky with the Smith machine. I think, 2 out of the 3 days so far, so we'll take that. Clap it up for that. Knock on wood for that. But yeah, overall, good workout. No complaints. And then we came home. We had our stretch, had our snack. Did some research for today's episode, and yeah, we're pretty much good to go. Sans a startup. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to it so we can get into the news. Halfway through the week. I'm definitely ready for the weekend, as per usual. Not that I have anything major planned. I'm just, I don't know, just happy to be here and hopefully not be at work, obviously, sans the weekend, all that. So that's what I'm rooting for. That's what I'm hoping for. That is what I'm pushing for. All right. From the Associated Press. Supreme Court weakens a landmark civil rights era law and aids GOP efforts to control the House. The Supreme Court on Wednesday hollowed out a landmark civil rights era law that has increased minority representation in Congress and elsewhere, striking down a majority black congressional district in Louisiana and opening the door for more redistricting across the country that could aid Republican efforts to control the House. In a 6-3 ruling, the court's conservative majority found that Louisiana district, represented by Democrat Cleo Fields, relied too heavily on race. Chief Justice John Roberts had described the 6th congressional district as a snake that stretches more than 200 miles to link parts of Shreveport, Alexandria, Lafayette, and Baton Rouge. The map is a unconstitutional gerrymander, Justice Samuel Alito wrote for the 6 conservatives. The effect of the ruling may be felt more strongly in 2028 because most filing deadlines for this year's congressional races have passed. Louisiana, though, may have to change its redistricting plan to comply with the decision. It is unclear how much of the provision known as Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 remains. They go through a little bit of history here, which we'll touch on. When he signed the bill, the main way to challenge racially discriminatory election practices into law more than 60 years ago, President Lyndon Johnson called it a triumph for freedom as huge as any victory on the battlefield. So yeah, I mean, it's a shame that we are undoing something that has been constitutional, I feel constitutionally concrete for over 60 years. But essentially they're saying, this is too much of a racial gerrymander. We've been letting all this other stuff happen, but this can't happen. We got to put a kibosh on this. We got to stop this. We got to change this because this is bad. We're letting race into, our government process. And it's like, I do love how we've hokey pokeyed with that, oh, you're 3/4 of a person. Oh, now you're a whole person. Now we're going to help you out. Actually, now we've actually fixed this whole racism thing. So let's just start unraveling those things that were, making things more equal, making things closer to fair. We're done working on that. Actually, that's bad. I mean, that's how I view it. That's how I interpret this whole fucking situation, this process. So yeah, it's unfortunate. It's not surprising though. It kind of goes along with the pacing of this, supercharged conservative Supreme Court, where, they're willing to let some things slide and say, oh, okay, this is too far, Mr. Donald Trump or whatever. Maybe not, work on these tariffs. You got to hit the drawing board on that. But overall, conservatives have just been getting fed. They've been getting what they want, left, right, and fucking center. And, I don't see that really changing anytime soon, unfortunately. So, it is something I feel is kind of hard and frustrating to talk about, but, it is what it is. We do what we can. But let's move on. We're sticking to politics here. From Politico, as Iran war drags on, Hegseth labels Dems obstacle to peace. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth offered no clear vision to lawmakers Wednesday for when or how the Iran war would conclude, but he did identify a central obstacle in completing the mission: unpatriotic Democrats and their demands for an endgame. Dude, it's these woke liberal pussies that are stopping us from winning this thing. Thank you, Pete. I'm so glad you fucking just put the bottle down and you said that shit. Thank you, King. Thank you. Oh my gosh. The Pentagon chief, in his first public appearance with lawmakers since the military conflict began, repeatedly called congressional Democrats a leading impediment to American success in Iran. Hegseth's decisions to label critics as short-sighted and unpatriotic pulls a page from President Donald Trump's playbook. When threatened, attack. But the defense secretary's attempt to equate Democrats with enemy troops elevates his rhetoric to a new level. The biggest challenge, the biggest adversary we face at this point are the reckless, feckless, and defeatist words of congressional Democrats and some Republicans, Hegseth said at a House Armed Services Committee budget hearing. Your hatred for President Trump blinds you to the truth of the success of this mission. I love that, Pete, and maybe this is, I'm almost sure, this is from, his time at Fox. He has this, poetic, cadence, and he's very, almost, Reddit coded, where he just has this, he's just constantly almost trying to debate you and, get you up in, in the one-up. Brother, we're talking actual factual things here. Why are you talking like a fucking beatnik poet? But, I mean, I guess it works for him. It's his style. It's got him this far, so, fucking whatever. He repeatedly dodged pointed questions from Democratic lawmakers, calling them clickbait moments, even when the queries focused on readiness and personnel issues. It's dude, you're just doing smoke and mirrors here, okay? Get real, all right? His comments were greeted with similar animosity from committee Democrats who questioned the rationale for the military action and his confrontational stance with committee members. You reserved more words and more vitriol to condemn Democrats than you did for Chinese President Xi Jinping and for Russian President Vladimir Putin combined, said Representative Christy, is that Houlihan? What a fucking dope name. Christy Houlihan? Hell yeah. I believe Democrat from Pennsylvania. It's pretty telling to me that you decided to use your words and your time for that. There's more yada here. I do kind of want to talk a little bit numbers here, real quick. Let's see. The record or the budget that they are looking for is $1.45 trillion. That's what they are looking to get in terms of funding this war for the future. And just in terms of consolidating, looking towards for the future, that's how much they want to spend. So far, though, let me go back to Politico. Acting Pentagon Comptroller Jules Hurst said the war in Iran has cost $25 billion so far, offering the first official estimate of a U.S. military conflict with little public support. So we're just burning money as it is. I mean, just once again, double wrapping the fucking Strait of Hormuz. That is in and of itself wasting money. We have other troops just hanging out, potentially gonna do something we don't fucking know. Not to mention the amount of money we've spent on warfare up until this point, just to now, once again, just be sitting idly in an indefinite ceasefire in which we aren't really sending anyone to talk. And last time I heard, we're saying no to the Iranian proposal that got sent. They're like, yeah, no, we don't like this plan because you didn't say no nuclear. No nuclear, whatever the fuck, for forever. you didn't sign that part of our end, so we can't accept any of this. I feel like that's where we're at right now. And once again, Pete Hegseth, for the Pentagon, for this fucking, not endless forever war, but we don't know when we're gonna fucking end it, and we really don't know exactly why we're there. But we've said a few no nuclear stuff, maybe no missiles, whatever. We're working it out, but we've worked it out, and everything's fine. It's such a fucking mess, dude. It's so fucking gnarly, the situation we're in. And I know, I can't help myself. Gas is pushing damn near 4 something right now. You know what I mean? I'm seeing right in my backyard gas hitting around 4.69. I might have missed my last window to get my shit for $3.99, and I'm kicking myself for that right now. You know what I mean? Like, so it's so crazy how, us as Americans, person to the left of you, person to the right of you, is probably struggling a lot harder than they expected to, just in this year alone. Meanwhile, though, you got our guy Petey over there. It's just like, bro, I need more money, and you guys need to stop bitching about it. Like, it's just so crazy to me that they think that this is going to be something that we would like, that we are just going to be okay with. I mean, I don't know. I mean, once again, when we look and listen to his base, they're like, hey, man, I guess they could nuke us tomorrow. I don't know. I trust my president, though. I'll pay it. I'll pay it for my goddamn Humvee supercharged, whatever the fuck, F-450. No, I don't fucking know, man. They don't care, though. They're willing to pay the cost, man, to feel like a boss. I don't know. All right, let's go ahead and move on. I feel like I've beat this enough. To Yahoo Finance. Yahoo! You remember that? Ad? I'm sure most of my listeners do not remember Yahoo commercials, but they were a thing. Anyway, Jerome Powell announces plans to remain on Federal Reserve Board, citing series of legal attacks against the central bank. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell announced Wednesday he will remain at the Fed as a governor after his term as chair ends next month, saying he felt he had no choice but to stay amid a series of legal attacks that are battering the central bank. These legal actions by the administration are unprecedented in our 113-year history, Powell said. I worry that these attacks are battering the institution and putting at risk the thing that really matters to the public, which is the ability to conduct monetary policy without taking into consideration political factors. He said he will stay for a period of time to be determined. Powell, whose term as chair ends on May 15th, offered no additional time frame for his plan, saying only he will leave when I think it is appropriate to do so. Now, once again, gotta say, not a Powell Glazer. Gotta put that in quotations or asterisks, whatever. But this is a good move to me. I like this move. Essentially, he's going along with the get along in terms of like Kevin Warsh. His process is going along. He is set to be the next chair. Okay. And we got through the initial legal hurdle of them trying to prosecute him. Essentially, Janine Perot has said, okay, we're tabling that. We're doing an investigation. If they find anything, then we won't hesitate, but we're dropping it now. So things have gone to a simmer. But I think Powell is right. I think Powell's smart in the sense of like, okay, once this is over, I know how vindictive Trump is. I know how vindictive this administration is. They'll just reopen this case or come up with something else for me. And I don't fucking want to deal with that shit as a civilian. I might as well deal with it while I have some fucking influence and while I can wield it. Like, it's just fucking smart for his own personal survival, politically, whatever, judicially, whatever the word we want to use here, apply. And I also think that he might be a good balance for someone who like Kevin Warsh, who I think is spineless. I've said this before. I think he shifts with the fucking political wins. And I think in this situation, he is just going to appease his daddy-in-law's friend, who's Donald Trump. So, like, I don't think he is going to be as rigid as some people have said in terms of in the economy sphere. They're like, oh, actually, he's a pretty pragmatic guy. I don't know. Time will tell. Plus, Trump does a hell of a pitch when he literally, just badmouths you on his social website for everyone, in front of everyone, for everyone to see, and then potentially takes it to a legal level. So, once again, I will give Powell flowers for saying, no, yeah, like, and they mentioned in this article, I've seen this in a couple of articles, that it is traditional for most chairs to just move on, to something else and be done, to not stay on. Scott Bessent, a person in the Trump administration, like Trump cabinet or whatever, he's like, yeah, like this is kind of, against form. I guess I'll just read it. Also, this is a funny Trump diss. I do love when Trump actually hits a zinger. It's kind of funny. Trump responded with another insulting True Social post where he said Powell was staying on because he can't get a job anywhere else. Like, bro, Powell does not care. Like, I'm sure he has enough money. I'm sure he could go into some private sector, banking sphere, money, whatever the fuck. He could get some money. He'd be fine. He's doing this one for his own personal sake and or just for the fact that spite you, which I would be fine with a little column A and column B here. But Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent added in an appearance on Fox Business that it was a violation of all Federal Reserve norms. I need to highlight the word here, norms. He's like, it's just such a bad vibe. It's so posh, so gauche. Like, shut the fuck up. Scott Bessent is a fucking loser. Even though I will give him credit, I think he's been one of the guys, especially when we were talking about, like, Liberation Day, the whole Trump tariff bullshit. He was one of the few guys to, like, find a way to, like, talk Trump down a little bit. Like, give Trump what he wanted, but also, like, make him understand that it's like, we can't do this shit with China the way we're doing it. We just can't. Okay, I got to level with you. The bank is not going to bank with that. Okay, so I'll give him credit for that, but he's still a fucking weasel. So whatever, tomatoes. Anyway, that's the news on that. You got that Isaiah's way. We'll go ahead and move on. We have one more story that I'm going to cover, and we're going back to the dogs, but in a good way. This is the heartwarming part. There's a little bit of the good news, if you will. So let's go ahead and take our last break, and let's head to Wisconsin. I should stop. I shouldn't say it like that. I have friends from Wisconsin. They don't say that. But God damn it, T-Pain did it once. Ooh. Ooh-wee. Ooh. Yummy. From the Associated Press. Animal Rescue Group says it bought 1,500 beagles from Wisconsin facility targeted by protesters. Animal Refuge groups said Wednesday that they have agreed to buy nearly 1,500 beagles at a Wisconsin dog breeding and research business that was the site of a violent clash earlier this month between activists trying to break in and police who repelled them with tear gas and pepper spray. Big Dog Ranch Rescue and the Center for a Humane Economy said they have entered into a confidential agreement with Ridgeland Farms to buy 1,500 of the facility's roughly 2,000 beagles for an undisclosed price. It's unclear what the plans are for the remaining dogs. Ridgeland Farms did not immediately return a message seeking comment. It's a very big win, and I am ecstatic to have these dogs out and get them into loving homes. Lori Simmons, president and founder of Big Dog Reach Rescue, told the Associated Press. Simmons said she could not discuss the payment for the dogs, how long the deal had been in the works, or how many beagles remain at Ridgeland after the deal. Now, I think by my initial count, or from what I remember, this was 2,000 dogs. I don't know if that was pre or post March, when I think 30 people had gotten in and gotten 30 out, or people had gotten in and gotten 30 of the dogs out. I'm not sure if that's part of the initial 2,000 count or not. But let's see. And there might have been a situation where there's 22 dogs. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, we at least know that 1,500 dogs have been, bought and are getting taken out of the facility. So that's a W. That's great. These dogs don't need to learn, or these dogs don't need to, let me run that back. I'm mush mouth. These dogs need to learn to walk on a leash, Simmons said. They need to learn to live in a home environment, be housebroken, spayed, and neutered. But even if they don't work out at their adopted homes, they can always come back to Big Dog Ranch Rescue, Simmons said. Big Dog Ranch Rescue says its facility in, I'm totally going to fuck this one up, Lahachie, Florida, is the largest cage-free, no-kill dog rescue operation in the country. Animal activists have been pushing for 10 years to have the dogs at Ridgeland Farms adopted, not sold to other research facilities. Simmons said her group was not involved in the recent protests that drew increased attention on Ridgeland, but she credited activists with raising awareness about what was happening. And actually, I remember after I initially covered the story, I had talked to a friend, in Wisconsin. I was like, okay, yeah, this is like near you, and they hadn't really heard about it until like this whole thing popped off. And that was one of the takeaways that we had. It's like look at it. Like you could say that this is like a very they went about it and they were too violent and impulsive, But like at the end of the day, this raised the profile of the whole situation. It put a lot of attention on it. And they were hopefully able to expedite the process because of this. We don't have the details. Obviously, everything is confidential here. But hey, we'll take a win. At the end of the day, a dub's a dub, right? But let's see here. They go through a recap of what happened. They did say that 29 people were arrested. And 5 faced felony burglary charges for their, attempt on getting into the facility, which was a pretty perilous situation. Let's see here. Yeah, in March, activists broke into Ridgeland and left with 30 beagles. 63 people were referred from the sheriff's department to the district attorney for potential charges related to that break-in. So yeah, look. This is a W. Clap it up. We love to see it. We love to see some good news. So yeah, that is really what I wanted to close it out with for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Become a newsie today. Roll call is coming up soon. The first of the month. All that. Let's see. Free ways to hit me up. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. I always appreciate the homies who hit me up. Doesn't matter what the platform is. I had a homie hit me up recently on TikTok, and it was just nice. Always appreciate the kind vibes and, kind words. But yeah. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts are always appreciated, but you ain't got to do nothing of that. You ain't got to do nothing at all. I really appreciate you letting me yap, whether it is in your home, whether it's in your car, whether it's in your earbud right now. Thank you, my dude. Hopefully we get to do it again soon. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.